Ew. Don't come here and talk about no beeping noise. We know it's beeping. Oh, he's on time.
Hi.
I love you for that.
How are you?
I'm good, Howard. I know you're a little perturbed.
That's a story for another day.
Oh, we'll definitely be talking after this live. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Queen? You look lovely.
Thank you. I
You
tried to
look
do a little
lovely.
short and sassy for Mimi tonight.
Yeah, you look absolutely lovely. And hello, everyone. I hope that everyone is having a great week. For those of you that have been asking, here in Houston, we do have electricity. Someone made a post earlier and said they've been out of power for 30 days. Girl, it ain't even been 7 days. Stop it. And it was on like 10% of the city that was out for that long. So just stop. But I just hope that everyone is having a great day. I hope that everyone is finding some peace because it's been like a lot of
Drama, mess, unnecessary
drama.
shit.
And it's kind of sad because I've been seeing a lot of it being stoked by people, 50 plus crew. Um, that's kind of embarrassing. And I think that most of them will look back and be ashamed that they carried on this way because yeah, we know that the underage, the millennials, Gen Zs, gonna carry on, especially Gen Zs, but we don't expect for the baby boomers to be popping like that. So I just hope that we all find peace and find a way to just be happy because we have so much going on right now that we have other things to be fighting together.
And that's why we have this series. We have such a beautiful spirit coming on tonight. The iconic Mimi Marks. Can't wait to talk to her. But yeah, so this weekend was very good. I traveled down to Diamond of the
How was
South
that?
in New Orleans. I popped up on y'all.
You look like a platinum Barbie doll.
Thank you. It was so good to be in New Orleans. That heat was ridiculous. I don't know what it is about New Orleans and Houston, but y'all can have it. Um,
Okay.
Traveled over to the casino and put a little $5 in. I ended up winning 20.
Did you have a
So
wonderful
shout
time?
shout out to the $20.
Did you have a wonderful time in New Orleans?
I did met a couple of potentials.
And that's all that matters. So bring the heat.
So yeah, but Renaissance news. What we have coming up? Nothing really. I will be in Atlanta this weekend judging and performing at Ebony International. So if you are interested in doing that, inbox me. If you're interested in coming, see you there this Sunday. Um, Other than that, I don't have anything else for July. Do you have anything on your agenda for July?
I have a lot on my agenda, but not for shave business.
Oh,
No,
so
but I'll
yeah.
be in Dallas, Texas. Well, actually, I'll be in New Orleans, Louisiana next weekend for the Texas Southern University National Alumni
Oh
Association
gosh. Oh
convention.
gosh.
And then the week after that, I'll be in Dallas hosting a seminar on advocacy and activism and how do we put it to work in 2025. And then I'll be in DC the weekend after that doing another advocacy. I'll be sitting on a panel for advocacy at Howard University.
Oh,
So it's got a lot going on. Shout out to my sister, LaRonda Humphrey, my biological sister. She was just the dean of students for St. Gerard School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So shout
congratulations.
out to her. Lorena's
Was
kids, of course.
Howard on your list when you graduated high school?
No,
Howard was my like number 4.
no. My number one was Texas Southern. My number two was Grambling, and my number three was USC.
My parents graduated from Grambling. My number 1 was Southern.
Yeah.
My number two.
Yeah, Southern wasn't on my
My number
list.
two is Clark.
I never liked Baby Blue. And
My number two was Clark. My number three was Fam.
oh,
Um,
yeah, didn't like
A&M wasn't even in
Orange.
my five. I just happened to make chilling up there and stuff. But we're
Yeah,
gonna go ahead
Orange
because
wasn't my thing.
she's in the queue. Shout out to Rhonda K. Smith and the rest of our Renaissance Court. We love y'all. But we're gonna go ahead and hold on.
While she's doing that, November 23rd and 24th in Atlanta, Georgia, will be the Mr. and Miss Renaissance and Renaissance Opulence pageants.
So make sure you check out. But we're gonna go ahead and bring on the icon because I see that she is alert. She follows directions.
The
We love that about
pioneer.
her. So let's go ahead and get
It's
her.
the pioneer, the icon.
Yes, she is all of that and then
Hey,
some.
Tiana
Tiana.
McIntosh. Mimi.
I want to know what the mess is.
Oh, no. Oh,
I want to know what the baby boomers are doing.
oh.
Baby, the
Look,
baby boomers are booming this week, Mimi.
well, just take that
When
last
you
part.
said-
Look at your friend list. Boom. The boom
When
boom.
you said it's the 50 and overs, I was like, ooh, ooh. Believe me, I got on the phone with Tasha Long earlier and we talked for an hour and a half because I was like, girl, what's going on?
Right. You had to be alert.
Mimi, you are looking lovely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mimi,
Thank you.
we are when we decided to do this series and talk about legends and icons, we had to bring you to the table. There's no way we could not have you on here. So we just want to say thank you for allowing us this. We say 60 minutes.
I told Tasha, I go, bitch, we might be talking for 3 hours.
Listen, we are here for you. And so we just want to say thank you for giving us the time out of your schedule. You were
Of course.
so
I'm honored, so thank you.
You're welcome. You were so I know you say you're a little nervous, but we don't want to make you nervous. But just again, thank you for the time. King, anything right quick before?
I'm just ecstatic. So thank you so much for accepting the call.
Of course. I literally I feel honored. Like I'm excited to do it. I'm happy to do it. It's exciting for me. So now,
Okay.
am I supposed to be sharing this some kind of how or anything like that? Because I don't know how to do all that.
Yes.
Now. Oh, here I go.
Can you hear me, Queen?
I can hear you.
Okay. Every time I put it on Do Not Disturb, it still let me be disturbed.
Let me just tell you right now that I literally just tried to do that. I called my brother this morning and he was in Walmart. And so he's like, oh, I'm going to call you when I come out of Walmart. And I still hadn't heard from him. And so I was like, well, I was going to tell you that I'm doing an interview today, but you're still at Walmart. I was like, oh, the day got past me. But I had tried to put the Do Not Disturb on, and then he called. And I said, well, obviously the Do Not Disturb don't work.
Exactly.
So I'm like, hey, bro. Yeah. I don't know how any of that kind of stuff works.
Well, you
literally.
But you did it very good. You was on it because some people it take a minute, but you was on it. So that's good.
I don't think I've maybe gone live like 1 or 2 times. Mm-hmm. I am blind as a bat, so the like getting painted and going live is impossible for me because I'm like this. Look at that. What are they saying to me? I can't see, so I never do that. So this is fun. So
okay. So Mimi, let's just start where it all started. Where, why, and even how did Mimi Marks come about?
Okay. So I'm from Waterloo, Iowa, which is, I don't know, people always can think of me as, oh, sorry, you know who.
We love Marky.
He's right here and he's already bugging me. Everybody always says, that thinks that I'm from a small town, but it's like a town of like, I think 70,000 people. Oh. It's not like a farm town. It's not like I didn't grow up on a farm, and I'm from Iowa, but I didn't grow up in a cornfield. I was born and raised there. I have 2 older brothers, 1 older sister. They're 5, 6, 7 years older than me. And we were like, just like a middle class, I guess, family, just very My brothers were both very into sports. My sister was a cheerleader and the homecoming queen and all that kind of stuff. So I came from a family like that. My dad was the president of this public school board and worked at John Deere my whole life. But my parents got divorced or got separated when I was in, I think, just going into high school, which would have been ninth grade. And so most of my upbringing was, I was a mama's boy, you know? And so my whole life, I always felt like a girl. I wished I could have been a girl.
Right.
And when I was not in around, say, when I wasn't around my immediate family, because I have cousins that I could be around, and I played girl. I was always a girl. If we played school, I was a girl. If we played house, I was a girl. If we played grocery store, I was a girl. You know what I mean? We would play roller rink. I was a girl. We would say what outfit we had on, and I was always, you know, had my girl outfit on. And my cousins and stuff, they really allowed me to be that. You know what I mean? At least some of them did. And so my whole life, I was always like that. I always just felt like a girl. If I wasn't around my mom, my parents, or my brothers and sisters, like my brothers, they played hockey, and so we were at the hockey rink all the time. They would have tournaments, and everybody would come in from out of town. I would tell them all I was a girl the whole time, because if I told people that I was a boy, it became a situation. If I just told them I was a girl, no one asked me anything. So I used to go babysitting with my girlfriends in high school, like in, not high school really, but like junior high or when I was younger. And they would just tell them I was their girlfriend, and they would be like, okay. And they would let me come. If they would have said I was a boy, of course I wouldn't have been able to go hang out with them. You know what I mean? So I played girl my whole life. And then I met gay people in my high school years. I got involved in community theater, which was my dream. I loved it. That was like my most fun times ever, is like being able to be a part of the Waterloo Community Theater, the Waterloo Community Playhouse. The people there accepted me. They didn't care. I didn't play girl then. I could just be me. And it was okay. And then I met gay people, and I was like, okay, now it's starting to have vocabulary to go along with what I'm feeling. And the word gay is like the closest thing that I could find or hear or have ever heard that made sense. So I was like, I'm gay. And I it's funny because I didn't just come out. Like when my parents were going through a divorce, there were these women that were friends with my mother, and they were like the ladies in town that would go around and find everything out. They were the ones that told my mom that my dad was cheating. You know what I mean? They were those ladies, but they were my mom's friends. And in the first few times I was at the gay bar, I am outside, and we had the most distinctive car ever in the world. My parents did. It was an orange Mustang that looked like it was a convertible, but it wasn't. So it was a bright neon orange Mustang with a white top.
And you outside the gay club.
And I'm outside the gay club with the car, and I look across the street, and there's Rosie and Mary and Valdez. And I gagged. So the next day, I'm like, Mom, I knew she was getting ready to go to the bingo parlor where they were going to be. And I was like, I just have to tell you that I saw them last night, and I was outside the gay bar. She's like, the gay bar? I was like, yeah, because, I have friends, they're from the theater, and, some of them are gay, and they have a gay bar, and like the gay bar was as big as my apartment right now. It was like a hole in the wall, but it was our gay bar.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I said, and I saw them there, and I just wanted to tell you because I'm sure they're going to tell you tonight that they saw me. And she's like, well, you would never do that, would you? And in my head, I was so thrown because once I knew what gay and all that was, I was like, surely everyone knows. And especially my family, like they would never, like I thought my mom was going to be like, I've been waiting for you to tell me. You know
No.
what I'm saying?
Right.
I was like, I thought she was going to say, we knew that. And she was the complete opposite. She started crying and she was like, this is my fault. This is it. And I'm like, because I said then when she said, you would never do that, would you? And I said, well, yes, I would. And she's like, what? And I just was like, yeah. But then, once the words are out, they're out.
Right.
And then I can remember her telling my brothers and sister, and it just became this whole thing. And I don't think that it like they never didn't like me or anything like that. You know what I mean? They didn't, everybody was like, kind of like, really? And I think they were more so like, God, all along we've been, protecting you, and here you really were, or you really are. But that was fine then. And that became that. Then as I was at the gay bar, I saw drag queens. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And immediately, of course, because I'm so girly, they're like, you need to do the drag show. And I was just like, no, I will never do a drag show. And they're like, come on, why not? And in my head, I thought, if I do drag, I'm never getting out of drag. If I start to dress up like a girl, I don't ever want to stop. So that lasted for about, not very long. And then the next thing you know, I was starting to dress in drag. And I immediately was like, I love it. You know what I mean? Like if we had a drag show, I would still be in drag 3 days later. Like being like, I don't, my same hair. Horrible. I had black hair then. My first name was Katie Myers. I don't know. My last name was Kameyer, so I wanted my name in there some kind of how. So I picked Myers as my last name. And I just loved the name Katie. I really wanted to have the name Holly, but there was already a queen in Waterloo named Hollywood. And so I couldn't pick the name Holly. So I was like, ugh. And there was this older queen at the time whose name was Lily Mardot. And she was like, I don't know what she was doing in Waterloo, Iowa, but she was from California, I think, originally. And so she was real campy and did funny, campy things. And she was going to do a show like in Des Moines, Iowa, I think. And we were from Waterloo. And she asked me to do the show with her. And I was like, oh my God, like, yeah, like you want me to go to Des Moines and do a show? And she's like, yeah. She goes, but you can't have the name Katie. And I was like, she's like, you're not going to be a Katie. And I was like, well, what do you mean? She's like, you have to be something more like a Mimi. And I was like, really? And she's like, yes. She goes, you're going to be, I think you should be Mimi. And back then, everybody called each other like Miss so-and-so, like Miss Holly or Miss, and I just did not want people to call me Miss Mimi.
Okay.
So I picked the name Marks because my first name was Mark. My original first name was Mark. And so I was like, oh, then I'll just be Mimi Marks. And so that's how it began.
Came together.
And that's how it was. And that's how it became Mimi Marks. And from then on, I just was like, I was just thinking about it earlier today because I've been thinking about this interview a lot. You know what I mean? And like, I tried not to really watch too many because I didn't really want to know what you guys were going to ask or talk about. But I did watch Cezanne, so I kind of have a little bit of an idea. And so I was thinking about some of the things that you asked her, and then it got me to think of him. Was like, wow, I was talking to my best friend Kim earlier today, and I was like, when I think back on it, I'm like, even when I won Miss Continental, I'd really only been doing drag like 5 years at that
Mm,
time because I lived in Waterloo doing drag for maybe a year,
mhm,
maybe a little longer, 2 at the maximum. And then I lived in Milwaukee. I moved to
mhm.
Milwaukee and I lived there for 2 years. And then I moved to Chicago. And I moved
Mm,
to Chicago. I entered Continental twice, 1990 and then 1992. And in 1990, I think I moved to Chicago in like June or July, and then Continental was in September. So, and then I won 2 years later. So I was like, God, like it all kind of really went fast at the beginning. And I just didn't even know. Like
what
when I won
was happening?
this Continental, I didn't even really have a clue.
How was the transition from Waterloo to the big city of Chicago? How was that for you?
Well, I had an intermediate there because I knew a couple guys. One of the guys lived in Waterloo when I was younger. And so he had moved to Milwaukee and he came back to the gay bar and came to one of the drag shows that we were doing there. And he had brought one of his friends from Milwaukee. One of them, the guy from Waterloo is Bill Wardlow. The guy from Milwaukee was Paul Handel, just in case they're watching. And so they were like, you know, you should come to Milwaukee on Wednesday nights. They have a talent competition at the bars there, and you can win $100. And I was like, $100? I'm like, hell yeah! I'm like, okay. And back then, I was like, growing up, I was a gymnast, I was a dancer, I was in theater, I was all that. So back then, in the olden days, I used to do all that. You know, I would be dancing and twirling and everything. So I was like, talent contest, let's go. So I went, and the first week I went to the Club La Cage and did it there, and I won the $100. And then the next week I went down the street to the other bar called Club 219, and I did the contest there, and I won the $100. And they asked me if I wanted to work there, and I was like work and get paid and do the shows, and they were like, yeah, work every Sunday, and I think maybe it was like Tuesdays or something. And I was like, yeah. So I went there to just go do these contests. I was going back to Iowa. I was going back to Waterloo. You know what I mean? Like all I brought there with me was drag.
Oh.
And so I moved there right then. And from that day, I never was Mark again. I never got out of drag. I never stopped being a girl. I guess maybe at first, well, no, because I just didn't even go home. I didn't even go back to Waterloo. I just would talk, and which was weird because back then I was very close with my family. You know what I mean? We got together all the time, and we were closer. You know what I mean? And so and they were like, "Where are you? Why don't you come home?" And then finally, my mom called me one time on the phone, and I had everybody at the bar knew, like, you know, if anybody calls or anything, because of course we didn't have cell phones or anything back then.
Right.
And so my mom called the bar and she asked for Mark, and then they yelled, "Hey, somebody go get Mimi." And I got on the phone and we were talking. She's like, "I haven't talked to you." And she's like, "Can I ask you something?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she says, "Do you dress up?" Because I told them that I was a waiter in the gay club, because that's what I did in Waterloo too. I was a waiter in the gay club. And I said, she goes, "Do you dress up like a girl and perform in a show?" And I just was like, it brought me straight back to that day that she said, "Well, you wouldn't do that, would you?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And she goes, "Well, so had said something about that." And I said, "Well, he is the waiter in the gay bar." And she goes, "Why didn't you ever tell me anything?" And I'm like, from then on, it was just, that was that. And then I think the first time I went home, I had a cast picture of the cast of the show that I was working in at the time, the bar that she called me at, which was at La Cage. And Kelly Lauren was in the picture. And then the show director, whose name was Holly, why can't I think of it? Holly Brown. She was from Australia. They both had boobs.
Oh.
And my sister had said to me then the exact same thing to my mom. Well, you wouldn't do that, would you? And I was already been on hormones at that time. I had already been started transitioning. And I was like, yes, I already am. And that from that point on, it was just, that's who I was. I was Mimi.
Was your family, your brothers, your sister, and your father, were they accepting of the new Mimi?
Well, I feel like they almost were more accepting of that than they were when I initially told them that I was gay. I think that was when it finally like clicked. That they were like, okay, this is what it's been all along. And I've even had conversations with a few of them, maybe all three of them at some point, and they've had friends that were like, of course,
yeah,
we always knew. I just think because they were like my siblings, they just didn't see it that way.
Okay.
But everybody else was just like, yeah, of course. Even like the people that I went to high school with and stuff that I see or that I know on Facebook or, been to my class reunion, they were all like, yeah, we kind of figured this.
Okay. So what made you transition, or what brought you to Chicago?
So I worked at, there was two clubs at the time, Club La Cage and Club 219 in Milwaukee. They were rival clubs. They were, if you worked at one, you couldn't work at the other one and vice versa. That, very old school. And so I initially worked at Club 219. They were the ones that offered me the job the night of the talent contest. Well, eventually, I don't know whatever happened there, but I ended up down the street working at the other place, La Cage. And they just did more productions, and it was more elaborate, and like one place was known more for being glamorous, which was the first place I worked at, and then the second place I worked at was known for being a little bit more like doing wild things.
Okay.
So I had been at one, went to the other one, and then I was back at the first one again, Club 219, and Jim Flint and the owner and the show director of 219 were very good friends. So whenever back in the day, they used to do Continentals on Review the weekend or the week before Continental.
Okay.
And the former winners would go and do a show. So I was at Club 219. I had been doing drag probably a year and a half, 2 years maybe at this point, a year and a half. I just started working at Club 219, and they were having the Continentals on Review show. And it was Tandy Andrews, Dana Douglas, Chili Pepper, Maya Douglas. I think they were the performing. And Ginger Grant was there, and Jim Flint. And now they were at our club. They were our club, and they were getting ready in our dressing room. So we're in the dressing room. I'm like in the dressing room behind the costumes like this. You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to watch them. I'm like, I want to see these girls get ready. I never seen nothing like this before in my lifetime. I was like, this is insane. And so we're there, and Jimmy goes he's over in the other corner of the dressing room, and he says, I want to see her perform. And everybody goes, Mimi? And he goes, yeah, I want to see her perform. And they're like want to throw up. And I think to myself, well, I'm not getting on this stage with any of Dana Douglas and Tandy Andrews and Chili, you know what I mean? I was like, no way. And all the girls from 219, they just dressed me up. They put a costume on me, and I went out on the stage and I did every backflip that I knew and cartwheels, and I twirled and I danced and I did all of that. And Jimmy started asking me after that to come to the Baton and fill in for guest spots. Like, so I went and did a couple of guest spots, and then I decided to enter a Continental prelim. And so I entered Miss Cosmopolitan Continental. And this was it had to have been 1990.
Right.
I entered Miss Cosmopolitan, me and my best friend at the time, who was the one that moved me from Waterloo to Milwaukee. He came and drove me to Chicago, and I entered this contest. I think I had gotten an evening gown from the one that was the show director. Her name was Ginger Spice, who I call my drag mother.
Okay.
She's been passed away from AIDS years ago, but she really like catapulted me into being able to do all of these things. So she had gotten a dress from Shantae, Alexandra Billings, and it was a beaded gown. And I was like, oh my God, it was this brown and gold beaded gown. I'd never owned a beaded. I mean, it was solid beaded. It was old school. Bitch, I wish I had that gown today. It was a beaded gown. And I wore that gown and we went and did the pageant in Chicago. Like, it was at the Baton. And at the end of the pageant, I ended up winning.
Oh.
And at the end of the pageant, Jimmy says, so what do you think about moving to Chicago? And I was like, I mean, I would love to move to Chicago. And he's like, well, how would you like to work at the Baton Show Lounge? And I was like, I would love to work at the Baton. This is like on the microphone.
Right.
She wins, hey, congratulations, da 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 da. How would you like to do? And I said, I would love to. He goes, okay. Our next, Baton girl, Mimi Marks, right here. And I moved to Chicago 2 weeks later.
Oh, wow.
Was that your first pageant?
The owner of that pageant was John Bradley, and he literally helped me. I ended up living in one of his friends who I'd never even met before, apartment in a high-rise downtown Chicago, like the most beautiful apartment. He was like, oh, my friend, he's always with his boyfriend, you can live here for a few months until you get settled. And John, the owner of the pageant, he ended up to be my sponsor then. He owned a company that he manufactured wedding gowns and designed wedding gowns. Mm-hmm. So he gave me all kinds of like gowns. He's like, we'll just dye them all colors, they're all white, we'll dye them. So all my first costumes were basically wedding gowns that were dyed. Mm-hmm. And and I moved to Chicago, and I just I started working at the Baton, and in a month and a half, I was in Continental. Like it was like a whirlwind. Right. And 1 year before that, I went to Continental for the first time. Dana Douglas was giving up the crown. It was the night Kelly Lauren won. We walked in, and Dana was standing on that white pillar with the crown like this, the American flag around her thing. She was singing the national anthem. I was like, there ain't no way I'm ever going to try to do anything like this. Like, every girl in the pageant was like a trans girl. I didn't even realize that there was that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I didn't know there was a beauty pageant or a pageant or whatever that like all these girls were in. I didn't know. Like, I hadn't seen anything like that before, or I'd seen a couple of videos from my from Ginger Spice, but I hadn't seen it in person. So I was just like, there's no way. There's no way. I think I fell down coming into Park West, how you kind of have to go down like this. Yes. I think I just fell down one of the stairs, like onto the ground. It was like, because I think our seats were right by the podium in the front. Like, we were right here. And I was just like, holy shit. And who'd have thought, like, in the next year after that, I was moving there, and it just started like that. And of course, being at the Baton was like, you enter Continental.
Right. Do you look back on when you started, when you first went to your first gay club and you saw the drag queens, up until the time that you actually will stop at the time that you won Miss Continental? Do you see, is there anything that you would have done differently? Because it happened so fast. Do you look back and think anything that you might have done differently or wish you would have done differently?
I don't necessarily think there's anything that I wish I would have done differently because I'm super grateful that
Okay.
it all happened.
Mhm.
But there are times when I wish that I knew a little bit more when I was Miss Continental. Like I didn't have the slightest idea what it meant to reign as a queen.
Mhm.
I didn't know. I flew on my first airplane when I was Miss Continental.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? I think I just turned 25 when I won. So I'd only been doing real drag for a couple years. I'd worked at the Baton 2 years and I worked in Milwaukee for 2 years. So the only time that was my only real experience. So I wish I would have known a little bit more
Right.
at that time
What do
about
you think?
winning.
What do you think you would have made of yourself if there was ever no Mimi Marks? What do you think, maybe occupation, or what have you would have done with your life?
And this is when I was like, I wish I wasn't listening to everything that Cezanne says because there are a lot of similarities with her and I.
Okay.
Because I would have I thought that I was going to be on Broadway.
Okay.
Like that was my dream.
Yeah.
I thought for sure that I was going to live in New York. That was my dream. And that I was going to be on Broadway somehow. So if I wasn't Mimi, I would have probably been in the theater of some sort. You know what I
Tony
mean?
Award winner.
Hopefully. Hopefully. Yeah.
King, you got anything right quick?
Yeah, I do. So was that your first pageant? I was curious if that was your first pageant you had ever done.
Maybe my first pageant was Miss Waterloo.
Oh.
I was Miss Waterloo, and this is where it's kind of like I don't remember the exact year, but I had to have been Miss Waterloo 1987.
Mhm.
And then while I was Miss Waterloo is when I hit it to Milwaukee. So I don't even think I gave up the crown. I don't even think I crowned the next Miss Waterloo.
So you're still the reigning. You're still the reigning.
Oh no, they've had many of them since me.
But I thought that it was like I thought it was really beautiful how your first name, Katie, your last name was a part of your last name. And now your last name now is still a part of your name, but it was your first name. So I thought that was like beautiful.
Dog named what my original first name was.
So you just kept it all together.
What the? So every time that I yell at him and I'm getting mad, I call him Mark Edward, which was my name. I'm like, Mark Edward. And that's not even his name. His name is Marky Marks. But when I do get pissed.
Right. So.
But how is this? Please tell me. I mean, how can you not?
Oh, Marky is asleep.
Right by his mom.
But he don't be asleep all the time because you stay recording him when he running around.
I love it when he sleeps. He's a monster.
Oh goodness. So we'll get back to the segment on the Continental and stuff like that. But let's get to know Mimi on a little intimate level.
Okay.
Tell us, who is or was your celebrity crush?
As a child, it was Erik Estrada.
Okay.
Do you even know who that is?
I don't.
Does he play baseball or something?
I don't.
He was on a show called Chips, and they were both motorcycle guys.
Did he have the flip there?
One was a white guy and one was a Latin guy, and of course he was the Latin guy.
Okay.
Okay. Erik Estrada.
Okay.
Him, yeah. I can remember him being like one of my first like crushes.
Oh, goodness.
Erik Estrada. I love that you don't even know.
I'm gonna go look him up as soon as we get off.
He was handsome back then.
Yes. Excluding, because we know that you have a list of celebrity friends, but if you excluding the ones that you know, if you could choose an actress or a singer or a model that you think you would probably be besties with, who would it be? Or you would want to be besties with? Past or present?
Oh, past or
Yes.
present. I would love to have met Judy Garland.
Oh.
She's my all-time favorite.
Oh.
So I would love to be able to just like, I can't imagine how that would turn out, but I would love to have an evening with her.
I think y'all would have fun.
Yeah, I do. But I love her. Let's see. Of nowadays, who's somebody that I would really like? I don't necessarily get super starstruck about people. I don't know. I guess like a lot of people used to come through the baton and I just never ever wanted to be that person that was like, you know what I mean? So I just kind of like learned to not really be like that. But yeah, I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
Like,
No, Judy is fine.
yeah.
Judy is totally fine. What's your favorite color?
Purple. I say purple because my birthstone is purple. It's amethyst. But I think pink is probably one of my more favorite colors too.
Okay.
Pink and purple.
Who is your favorite singer of all time, past or present?
Judy Garland.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're sticking with Judy.
Yes. But I do love some singers. I just heard this singer that won Britain's Got Talent. And she sang, her name is Sydney Christmas, I want to say, or something like that. But she sang Tomorrow. The sun will come out tomorrow. And it was unbelievable. And there was also a guy who sang that on the America's Got Talent named Jimmy Harrod. And and of course, Simon was like, that's my least favorite song. And he was like, you should sing something different. And the boy was like, I don't have anything different. And he fucking blew that roof off the place. And like, I love singers like that. I love people that like maybe haven't super made it yet. And they're just so good. And they're just so talented that you're like, I feel like a lot of the people that do get to make it aren't necessarily like the best singers or the best. I like people that can blow me out of the water singing. You know what I mean?
Right.
I remember seeing this video of Jennifer Hudson just like in the house singing like, I want to say it was like Hallelujah or something. And that was when she was dating whoever the Wayans brother is. And they might have been filming a movie or something, and he was like, you know what I mean? I love that. I love when people just have that talent that it's just like, you sing like that? Like that comes out of your voice? So, yeah.
Favorite movie?
The Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
I know.
Judy.
Sorry, but
Sticking with Judy.
I'm just making sure.
You're consistent.
I can take you in my kitchen right now and you'll see that I have a whole thing of Wizard of Oz.
And what's so interesting, I would, assuming, just my ignorance, that you would adapt to Marilyn more, but it is.
I mean, I do love Marilyn Monroe. I really do. And I love everything about her. And I love, like, she's another one. Like, I would love to, hang out with her. And I think that we would be good friends. Judy is someone that I like to have dinner with. Marilyn and I would be
girlfriends. Yes. What is
just getting in trouble with people that we shouldn't be getting in trouble with.
What are 3 flaws that you might have about yourself that you would like to work on?
I think that sometimes I can be like a little impatient.
Okay.
I think that a lot of times I can be insecure. And I don't know if this goes along with either one of those, but I wish I was better at just letting things go. Because certain things, yeah, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? There are certain things that whatever.
Right.
But there are some things that bother me, and they probably shouldn't. And I wish that I was better at just letting things go. Who cares?
Let me pencil this right quick. When you say insecure, because we see you as this, Mimi, pioneer. So many girls look up to you. I knew of you before I even met you, because I just met you in December. Where do you think that comes from with you? Is there a specific place? Did something happen? Or is it
the insecurity thing?
Yes.
I'm not for sure exactly, because I don't know exactly where it comes from. I know that some of it has recently, like in the past few years, like the scene in Chicago is very different now than it used to be. And I also didn't necessarily work in the scene. Like, I was a part of it because I was from Chicago, but I wasn't necessarily like, it wasn't like my
Right.
life. This wasn't, I didn't work in it a lot. And now I do. Now I am, you know what I mean? I travel a lot, but I also work in the bars and I work in the places, and it's changed a lot. And so there have been things that have kind of just happened that have made me insecure, made me rethink. Like, I mean, there was a time that I was like, do I even belong in Chicago? Should I even still be here? Like, am I even, like, what is it? You know, like, so I think that, but I think I've always had insecurities, but I just feel like maybe, and I mean, I'm older. I'm working in shows with people that are in their 20s. Like, I'm literally as old as their grandparents, some of them. So that makes me insecure sometimes, even though I'm
You that bitch, and you know you her.
But you know what I'm saying? It's just like, it sometimes makes me feel insecure a little bit.
Understandable. What's your favorite food to eat?
Ooh, I love Puerto Rican food. My best friend Kim Cleveland is an amazing cook, so pretty much anything that she makes I love. But I do love my mom's chicken and noodles and my mom's goulash are two of my favorite things. Like, those are two things that I have to have when I go home. And my mom makes a mean peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which she's always like, what is it?
Yes.
I'm like, you just know the ratio.
Yes.
But I would say that if I were going to pick, like, I love just like a good old, like, smothered pork chops, greens, all of that. All of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's your favorite season of the year?
Do we still have seasons? I'm not quite for sure.
No.
I don't necessarily know that where I live we have seasons, but I like different things about all of them.
Okay.
But I will say this: I could give a rat's ass about winter.
Okay.
I don't like winter. I hate winter.
And you right in the thick of it.
And I'm here, and that's why I'm like, anybody that wants to book me in the winter months, I'm totally available. Right. I'm not a winter person. I don't like cold. I don't like cold. I don't want to be cold.
Okay.
I don't like, I hate when I have to turn my air conditioner on. Like, I would be that girl that would never have air if I could, you know what I mean? But now I also have a son who, you know, when he's like,
Right.
I'm like, I guess we should turn the air on. But yeah, I love fall because I like, sweaters and
Yeah.
I like the fall leaves. I think I love the beauty of fall
Mhm.
and spring. And I love summer. Summer is probably my favorite, I guess. Like I would say I'm
Okay.
more of a summer girl than anything.
Okay. I can see that. What's your favorite
Yeah.
perfume fragrance?
Well, it used to be Ralph by Ralph Lauren,
Mhm.
but they don't make it anymore. It was in a burgundy square bottle, and it was what my sister wore. And I used to be like doused in it. And then she would say, "Who was in my perfume?" And I'd be like, what? And of course, I'm like, smell like the lady at the perfume counter. But now I like florally, girly,
Mhm.
florally, like that. I'm more of that type of girl.
Okay.
But like my real favorites are things that are kind of like old. Like I love Nude by Bill Blass. I don't even
Mhm.
think they make it anymore, but you can still, well, they must make it because you can buy it off of Amazon, but it's not like in the stores, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
What's your favorite city or country to visit?
I love Hawaii.
Mhm.
I love Thailand.
Mhm.
Um, I love Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, city and I love New York. I love
Mhm.
the feeling of New York. I just love that, like, you can walk everywhere and you know what I mean? There's always people, and I love that city feeling. I love the buildings. I love all that. Yeah. But I do
What does
love a beach.
Oh, the beach? Oh, yeah, put your swimsuits, honey.
I
Yes.
do love a beach.
What does peace look like to you? Mar-
Oh.
Him. He saved
Okay.
my life.
Really?
I feel
Oh,
like he saved my life. I really do. Like, yeah. Like sometimes I just look at him and I just cry because I'm like, I love you so much. Like all I want is for you to be happy and and feel like you're like living the best life. Like I just adore him.
how old is
Even
Mark?
when he turned 1 on April 8th.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so I'm not
That's awesome.
that
Oh.
mom that's like, he's 16 months or I don't know. Like his birthday was then.
can,
Yeah.
can you
But
have
I think he's,
favorites right quick?
huh?
Can,
Huh?
I was asking
Oh,
King, did he have any favorites?
Well, who are some of your favorite performers when you first started, like that we may not be familiar with? Like when I think of the
well,
baton, I think of y'all. So who was before y'all?
like that day that I saw Dana Douglas at that show, and she had this gold metal mesh, like a gold metal mesh top
Mhm.
and a gold metal mesh skirt, and her hair was like blonde into her waist. And at that time, I was blonde,
Mhm.
and she was doing Fever, do
Mm.
do like the old school Annabella version,
Mhm.
and the first she had a big gold fan and she whipped that fan and she started like blowing and her hair was blowing and I was like and then she dropped the skirt and then she ended up dropping the top and she was in a gold G-string with gold pasties and fanning that long blonde hair with that big huge gold fan. I was like, I can't. And her, and then when I saw Sherry Payne,
Mm.
she also worked at the time that I first came to Milwaukee. Sherry was on one of her outs, I think, of at the baton because she was a very in and outer.
Right.
You know what I mean? So she was not working there, I don't think, at the time, but she was working at Club 219. She would come back and forth from. And the first time Sherry walked out on the stage, and she was doing "Is It a Crime?"
Mhm.
She was snatched, had a pillbox hat on, and lingerie with heels that the spike on the heel was like this. I mean, her foot was like that. Garter thigh high hose on, and when she walked to the end of the stage, she smelled like perfume. And I remember thinking, I want to be like that. I was like mesmerized. So like those
That's
were my
beautiful.
two that I can really remember that I was just like, wow, okay. Like, and then when I saw Chanel Dupree, I was like dumbfounded.
Yes.
And I said, oh, okay, now I really get it. Now I'm starting to see. Now I'm starting to see what I want to do. Yeah. I was like, just like, this is like, okay.
You saw your
it.
direction.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
I
getting
can see
it.
all of them. I can see all of them.
Yeah.
Let's play the game.
Oh, shit. You
know how it works, right?
You ain't even said the game yet, but I'm assuming that this is like when I say something, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Yes.
And I swear to you, I had this conversation earlier today with my best friend Kim, and I was like, now how am I gonna play this game?
Yeah.
I said,
So
because I'm already having an idea of a couple of the things that are probably going to be brought up, and I'm like, do I be completely honest, or okay? Go ahead.
Definitely want you to be completely honest. But we're gonna keep it light with you. We know we're gonna keep it light. So the first name, easy, Chevelle Brooks.
Oh, one of my literal sisters. I absolutely love and adore Chevelle. She is one of my girls that I call when both. I was gonna just say like she's one of my girls when I call when I'm down and out, but like I call her for many different reasons. But yeah, she's like that girl. Like she's my sister like that. Like she'll tell me like straight out. You know what I mean? Like she doesn't really like sugarcoat. Like she will just be like, girl, you know, da 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 da.
Right. So. Okay. Number 2, Da Brat.
Well, I adore her. She is a very good friend. We don't like, you know, talk on the phone or things like that. Like we message back and forth every once in a while. But back in the 90s, we were very close. Okay. And she was like an experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Experience. Waterloo, Iowa.
I know this is not probably going to go over that well, but I literally couldn't care if I ever step foot in Waterloo, Iowa ever again. I just, like, my mother is there and I have a brother there. So I do have family there, like that and I have relatives there, but I don't have a lot of faith in Iowa or Waterloo, Iowa. I was home. Well, it had to have been maybe a year or two ago. I go home more than that, but one of the times I was home recently, I was sitting there watching my mother's TV, and all of the political ads that were on were about these two ladies that were whatever they were going for. I don't even know, but all the ads were about, well, all their issues were about trans issues.
Wow.
And I'm like, is this for real? And my mom's like, oh yeah, they're running for da da da. And I said, but I don't even know that many trans people from Iowa. I could count on one hand and not even fill my hand up. Like, why is this an issue? What are they talking about? Like, this is ridiculous. I was so like distraught from it. I was just like, I just don't even care to go back there. I don't care.
Okay. Understandable. Yeah. So when you think of, or you hear the word gorgeous, what comes to mind?
Well, I initially think of Candace Cain.
Okay.
Because
is that where that came from?
I think that initially comes from her. Like, okay. I think gorgeous is actually like a canvas thing
Mhm.
that I just like, of course, was like
Okay.
loved. And yeah, so I think of her when I think of that, like gorgeous.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. The Baton Show Lounge.
And this is the question that I was thinking.
Oh,
Wow. How long do we have?
we on
You
your time.
got it.
The Baton Show Lounge. First of all, I worked at the Baton Show Lounge for 25 years.
Wow.
Now think about that. 25 years. I am right now 57 years old. And I haven't worked at the Baton since 2016. So imagine at that time, I had worked half of my life at the Baton Show Lounge.
Mhm.
So I grew up at
Mhm.
the Baton Show Lounge. I had literally just started taking hormones. Like I probably only really went on legit hormones, not legit from the doctor, but like my initial hormone was the pill, like
Mhm.
the pill that women take to not have a baby.
Right.
Like that kind of that lowest of a dosage. But then I eventually got hormones. So I grew up at the Baton Show Lounge.
Mhm.
And I have a million fabulous, amazing memories of the Baton Show Lounge and my experiences and my time there.
Mhm.
But also in it being that a place that I grew up at,
Mhm.
I had a lot of ups and downs.
Mhm.
And so those are the things that are like that I was talking about earlier. Those are some of the things that I wish I could let go.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
but I had the Baton Show Lounge taught me a couple of things that I am so grateful for this very day.
Mhm.
And that is A, be on time.
Mhm.
I am at every single show that I do, not in the world, but pretty much here in the city. I'm the first girl there, always.
Mhm.
I'm usually like, well, Rough and Stuff gets there a little bit earlier, but she got a little bit more to do than me. No, I'm kidding. But no, I love Rough. But yes, I mean, I'm just like the be on time. That is something that I am so grateful for because it just wasn't a thing. Like you had to be on time,
Mhm.
and I can get ready in 3 minutes
Mm.
by myself.
Okay.
I can change my hair, I can change my costume, I can do, and that was something that we learned there too. I mean, when I first started working at the Baton and Leslie Regine was the show director and the MC,
Mhm.
she would literally put Monica Monroe and me, she would put the production, which we were in,
Mhm.
and then me first and her second or vice versa.
Wow.
So you had, and she didn't go on and do a number and then MC. We did the production and then she walked out and hosted.
Okay.
So you literally had her amount of time hosting, which could be 5 minutes or it could be 15 minutes. It didn't, you know what I mean? It could be a
Just
minute
be
and a
ready.
half.
Right.
Just be ready.
Okay.
And so those are two things that I learned there that I'm so grateful for. And I always tell people I'm always very thankful for that. I'm thankful for those things.
Okay. Number 6, Thailand.
The best experience of my life,
Mhm.
the most gratifying. I didn't even know that was possible.
Mhm.
I didn't realize that even was a thing. Like I didn't know that I'd never seen so many trans people before in my life. Like in the city that Miss International Queen is in, Pattaya, Thailand,
Mhm.
like everywhere you go, there are trans people everywhere. every store, every mall, every up down the street, at the restaurant, at the hotels, at the it's everywhere, and it's like no one even says anything.
Mhm.
And some of them are gorgeous, drop dead. You never thought you'd ever seen a queen like that before, and some of them are the not that. You know what I mean? And it's just it's okay. I loved it there. It was one of my most fun. It's like one of the highlights of my life and my career, for sure.
Okay. Number 7, Monica Monroe.
Monica and I started in like June or July. Monica started in October, right after that. So we grew up together. So being the fact that we grew up together, we fought like we were sisters. We fought like that, and we got along like that. You know what I mean? Like, I love her dearly, but we definitely had our moments, like knockdown, drag out. You know what I mean? Like,
oh wow,
like legit shit. Like yeah. But I love her, and when I see her, it's like if no time went by, I would do anything in the world to get her and Cezanne to do a tour. I would live.
Wow.
Like the three of us.
That would be
fucking,
amazing.
we used to just like, yeah.
We need to make that happen.
That would be amazing.
Okay. Next, the city of Chicago.
My home. This is my home now.
Okay.
This is
where
I'm from.
Do you ever think you would move, or
I
no?
think about it every single year. If somebody called me up and said, "Hey, we want you to come and do this. We want you to move here, and this is what we have. This is like, you know what I mean?" It's like I just haven't moved anywhere because after working at the Baton for 25 years, that was all I ever did. That was my life. I never applied for a job. I never went to school. I never did those kinds of things. So I wouldn't really know where to begin. So I've thought a million times that I was going to move to LA. I know of so many people there, but how do you move to LA? You know what I mean? I start over from scratch. I'm 57 years old. You know what I mean? Where do you begin? I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Hearing you say that, do you, I don't know if I want to use the word regret, or do you wish you might have done something differently with that because you were there for so long?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure. And I used to talk, I know I've had this conversation with Cezanne before. I'm sure I probably had it with Tasha before because they both worked there. That it's like they left and they moved on. And even Sasha Colby, we've had this conversation thousands of times. I'm I told her immediately, go immediately. I don't care that you're Miss Continental. I don't care what it if you have the opportunity to go now. Because that's something that I wished that I would have. I wish I would have. But I mean, everything happens when it's supposed to. But I do feel and that's where my insecurity comes in. You know what I mean? I was insecure. I was so comfortable there. But that's why I never had a sex change. I would have been had years ago. I would have been through all that. But I didn't because initially it wasn't, you couldn't, you know what I mean? You couldn't do that work now, and you couldn't work at the Baton then. So I was like, well, what would I do? I don't know what to do. This is my life. I have to do this. And so I just never did. I had opportunities and I let them go.
Did you say that you couldn't work at the Baton if you would have had the SR?
Back in the day, it was just kind of that unwritten rule. It was you're a girl, you know, you're not a drag queen. Little did we know, it's yes, we are. Even women do drag now, you know what I mean? But back then it was a whole different world. It was first of all, we were called female impersonators. We wouldn't call ourselves, I wouldn't have never called myself a drag queen back then. You know what I mean? It was it just meant something different. So I wish that I would have ventured out, and I wish that I would have finished cosmetology school as a child. I went for, like 2 months, and I just never finished. And I always wish that I would have done that.
Okay. Two more. Number 9, Erica Andrews.
She was another one that her and I absolutely adore Erica Andrews, but her and I have had some knockdown dragouts, like
Really?
not physical,
Uh-huh.
but we have had some like just yeah. And then like a week later, I would get a box filled with costumes saying, "I'm sorry, girl, I was full." Old school, I'm sorry. And so yes, like I think that Erica, she was ahead of her time.
Mhm.
She was just like, I think back and think, oh my God, if Erica was alive today, like I feel like there's some people in our world that probably wouldn't be who they are if it wasn't for her. You know what I mean? Like I really, yeah. Erica Andrews in Texas is like Selena. Like she's,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? So, and Tandy, like, yeah, I adored her.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And the last one, of course, your reign as Miss Continental. What is the first thing that comes to mind?
That I wish that I would have known better. I wish I would have known more. I wish I would have been a little bit more knowledgeable. Yeah.
So now we can move forward with that conversation. When you say you wish you would have known better, a little bit more knowledgeable, were there mistakes that you made, or what happened?
No,
What is
I think I just didn't even, I just did it. Like, I just,
Like you were a newcomer. You
yeah,
were still a newcomer.
it was what it was. Like, I didn't even really, like, I didn't really care at that time. I was more worried about my boyfriend, who was a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Who, like, I was more worried about that. Like, you know, I wish that I would have had more. I just wish I would have known more. Like, I wish I would have been further along in my career where it was something that I was like, ooh, I want to be Miss Continental. Because
okay.
at the
Gotcha.
time I was kind of doing it. Of course I wanted to win, and of course I wanted to be Miss Continental and stuff like that, but it wasn't like how I see it is for some girls now, where it's like, oh my gosh, it's like I just was doing it because my sponsor, like, you know, it was just as much for him as it was for me, you know, and it just I was doing it because that's what you did at the baton. You entered Continental, and you
So you
know,
were like going
so
through the motions, like you
yeah.
just went through the motions.
And
I
loved
think
it,
that
and
is
I had a
beautiful.
great time. I had a really great time, and I had fun, and like I got to do a lot of things. Like I said, it was the first time I ever went on an airplane. You know what I mean? I got to work at all those different places, and all of that was fun. But like, I didn't choose anything that I was doing or wearing.
I was just about to ask that. Take
I
us through
didn't
that
do
experience.
well, first I have to give a shout out to my best friend, Kim Cleveland, who is like, she's been my literal ride or die. She's done my hair and makeup for every big event that I've ever done. She was the person, like, the first year that I entered, I was Miss Cosmopolitan, and then I entered Continental. I think I got third runner up. And I literally didn't know. I mean, I was just going through the motions. And my sponsor, his name is John Bradley, he dressed me up, you know, and then Kim did my hair and makeup, and I didn't know no better. So then the next skip 2 years later, it was that Kim, of course, is going to do my hair and makeup and everything. And John Bradley, he owned a business. He made gowns, and so he made my evening gown. He got those furs. He came up with that whole everything. I think I literally tried on the actual dress like a few days before. The night before, after prelim night, Kim came to my apartment, and her and my boyfriend sat. We sat in my studio apartment and kind of choreographed how I was going to do the red fur. That was my first time ever really even like having the fur in my possession.
Wow.
So I was like, so when evening gown came around, everybody was putting their hair up. Every single person was like putting those freeze curls on. Everybody was putting on those hairdos. You know what I mean? Because that's the time. And Kim was combing my hair and putting rollers in. And I remember and at that time too, it was at Park West, and we were in the kitchen changing. So I didn't have a mirror. I wasn't sitting like at a station, you know what I mean? I was just kind of there. I couldn't see what was up, but I could tell that she wasn't putting my hair up. And I was reading her and I'm saying, Kim, what are you doing? She's like, just trust me, Mimi, just trust me. And I have never even had on the red gown and the red fur. I never had them on together. I never had that. So I don't know. So she's doing my hair. I'm furious. And right before you walk on stage at Park West, there's a full-length mirror right there, right before the little steps to walk up. And that was my first time I saw myself. And I was like, oh my God, I finally got it, what she was going for. And I was like, bitch. I was just like, and then it was like the next thing you know, Hector Extravaganza is there, and he's like, I'm taking her out, like, because we had escorts at the time, and he was like, I'm taking Mimi, and Tandy Andrews turned and looked at me, and Ginger was looking at me. They were all looking at me like, oh my God. And I looked at myself, and that was it. It was like, go. And that was it. That's how that happened. The swimsuit, the Bob Mackie swimsuit, my sponsor is very good friends with Chili. Chili's very good friends with Bob Mackie. My sponsor is in wedding design thing. They all kind of knew each other, right? And so Chili's like, and John are good. Like, we're going to call Bob Mackie and see if he's got any swimsuits. And I was like, okay, like, whatever. And I lived in the same building as Chili. She's lived in that building for her entire life. I lived on the 10th floor. She lived on the 2nd floor, 3rd floor, something like 4th floor. She lived in the bottom. I lived up there. She calls me. She's like, Mimi, I got something for you down here. Come down to my room. Nobody ever went into Chili's apartment. She did not invite people over to her house. She didn't ever. I'd never been in her apartment. I was like, okay. I go downstairs and she opens up this box, and there's the white hat and the coat and the white swimsuit and the yellow swimsuit and the earrings and I'm like, I get to wear this stuff? Like, I was like, what is going on? Like, so that too, like, I never even had that coat on before. That white coat, I never even like put that on before that night because I was afraid to even touch any of it because it was like literally off the runway. It was not like a manufactured swimsuit that he made.
Right.
He made that swimsuit for a runway show. So it wasn't ever used, or I think it might have maybe been in a magazine shoot or something. So it was like that. Like, so I was like, I didn't even want to touch it. I was like, what? And I was just laughing too to my friend Kim. I was like, because somebody had that scene on the swimsuit thing, and I was like, I remember taking the hat off, and there was nobody even there for me to like
Give it to.
take the hat, and I just dropped the hat, take the coat off, drop the hat, and I'm like, fucking Bob Mackey's sitting right there on the judges panel, and he's probably thinking, bitch, that's my hat that I said. So
How does it?
and so, and the talent, I was like, I'm not doing a talent in cowboy hats because everybody thinks I'm from Iowa. They know I'm from Iowa. I'm not doing a country number.
Mhm.
And he was like, you have to do this number. I wanted to do something sexy. I wanted to do something like, you know, nakedy and sexy. I wanted to be girly and all that. And he was like, you have to do this. And it was Marla Maples that was the character that I was playing. She was on Broadway playing that character. So it was kind of like, you know, you got to do it. And so that's how I ended up doing that. Like none of that was none, like those weren't my ideas. And even like the opening, I didn't have any like say so. And that my sponsor, I was living through him. He was like, or he was living through me, I should say. So like, yeah, like I just wish I would have known more, and I could have done it, you know. I would have, like, those things I probably wouldn't have done different because I'm so grateful and so thankful, like that, you know. I tell Kim it's so funny that I was so mad at her for doing my hair, and here it ended up to be like, you know, the most iconic part of the whole thing, you know. So yeah.
How does it feel to know, or do you know, that you set a presence for the girls today when it comes to swimsuit and gown, that you literally were a pioneer for changing things in those specific categories? How does that make you feel that you
Well,
are?
I don't necessarily think that I was a part of changing things because I was literally the 12th winner, and now there's been how many? Like, so, but I do. I mean, I might could see where people. I've had many girls be like, I did my swimsuit off of yours, or I did, you know, I wore furs because of you, and so I think that that's great. I love it. It's cool. I love it when somebody comes up with their own ideas better, but it's an, you know, it makes me feel good that people think that or feel that, you know.
Okay. When, and you don't have to be humble, but when did you realize, bitch, I'm Mimi Marks, I'm her? When did that time come for you?
I don't really know that time has ever really came. Like, I think that there have been times in my life, and there have been times that I've maybe done certain things and I thought, fuck yeah. But I don't think of it as in general that I'm like, oh, I'm Mimi Marks. I mean, I live in a normal apartment. Like I have not, I live week to week. You know what I mean? I'm not like, I don't live this big fabulous life. Maybe if I got to live and be, you know, I didn't have to worry about certain things, I might think like that. But I'm getting paid the same shit this bitch right here is getting paid, and that bitch right there is getting paid.
Gotcha.
Whether I've been doing it longer than they've been alive on earth or not. So it's kind of like not irritates me because it's an honor, and I love, you know, for people to look up to me or to maybe think of me in those ways. But it's like, it's kind of frustrating sometimes when people are like, oh, the legendary or the icon or this or that. And I'm like, I'm literally getting the same paycheck as everybody else. Like, there's nothing, you know, it's so.
But I think that's what makes, to me, that makes y'all icons. Like, to me, the difference between a grown woman and a little girl is that the grown woman doesn't feel the need to echo that I'm that girl. It's the little girl that echoes that.
If when I meet girls that are like that, that is one of my hugest turnoffs about people, is if you are grand. I'm like, I know bitches that can be grand and they're not.
Yeah.
And they could be. They have all of those qualities to be a grand ass bitch, and they're not. So I don't like grandeur. It's
Right.
just not my thing. I don't like people that act like that. I'm like, that will turn me off in a minute.
We interviewed Tommy Ross. That was our first interview. And she told us on that interview that when Trinity asked her what made her want to be a Miss Continental, she said that her first time going to Continental was when you won. And that led her to always wanting to compete at Continental. So for you to, it's like I love the modesty, but for you to have been a girl that made a girl like Tommy Ross say, "Oh, I want to be that because of her," that to me that's huge. That's huge to me.
It is huge. And the funny thing is that I remember seeing Tommy Ross at Continental the very next year that I was giving up my crown. And I remember thinking, oh my God, it's Tommy Ross is in the audience. Like Tommy Ross is right there in the front row. Like I remember being like that about her. You know what I mean? Like thinking, oh, that's Tommy Ross, and she's right in the front. You know
I love
what I
that.
mean? It's like I was just the same way about her.
I love it.
We haven't seen you back at Continental in a while. Will you be returning?
I was only gone for 1 year.
You know I was gonna joke with you about that.
She had hit that wow.
You know I was gonna joke with you about that.
I was talking to Tasha today, and we were talking about this, and like, and
I already told you.
Tasha too. Tasha's like one of my. She's like a real sister to me.
Right.
Like Tasha is one of my sisters, and another person who is like, I literally lived out the best days of my life, and I don't want to get emotional because I can. I'm an emotional person,
Okay. Why do we get all the tears out of everybody every week?
What is your zodiac? What is your zodiac?
I'm an Aquarius.
Okay. Go ahead.
But I lived out like my best years of my life with Cezanne. Like her and I, we lived in the 90s. Like we were sitting in the front row at the Bulls games. Like we were hanging out with rock stars and the NBA players and doing things that like girls like us didn't get to do back then, and be just people knew who we were. Like we didn't care if they knew we were trans, and we just were us, and we just did some of the most fun. We had some really great times together, and I've always worshipped and adored, not worship and adored, I don't want to say it like that, but she has a special place in my heart for sure.
Okay. So you will be returning this year.
So I was talking with Tasha about this earlier, and I was like, that's when I started to talk to her about like the baton and about just all of it. And I'm like, I spent my life as a former Miss Continental, and I have been a flower, and I've been water, and I've been Marilyn Monroe, and I've been Sleeping Beauty, and I've been Gothic, and I've been air, and we've this theme after theme after theme. I've done all of those.
Yes.
And I'm like, and I took a year off, and Candace was having a birthday party last year on the same weekend, and she was like, I really wish that you would come. And I was like, when is it? And she's like, it's Labor Day weekend. And I just didn't even hesitate. I was like, I absolutely would love to be at your birthday party. You are one of my closest, dearest friends in the world. I would love to be there. And so that's where I was, and that's what I was doing. And I didn't miss it. I didn't miss it at all. And that told me something. And they didn't miss me either. I'm not
You see?
saying the people in the audience or some of the people there, but I'm just saying they didn't miss me either. And yeah, but this year is Cezanne 30th year anniversary.
Yes.
And I wouldn't want to miss that. So
Oh,
I decided that I'll go. You know what I mean? It's not something that I get excited about anymore. And that hurts me because it's been so much a part of my life for so many years. And so I just, but I do love to see some of my sisters, and I do love to see some of the people and the fans and the people that come. I adore, and you know what I mean? Like anytime that I've performed, like to see the amount of people that just come, and that part of it I love. And I'm so grateful that all of those people have still continued to want to be my fan or be my friend or be whatever those things are. But there's other parts of it that are just disappointing a little bit. And so, yeah.
okay. Gotcha.
But yes, it's Cezanne's 30th year anniversary, and I don't want to miss it because of that. So I'm gonna go.
Good. We like that. Someone asked in the comments, did you ever consider EOI, US of A, or any other system, or was that something that you just were interested in?
Well, the crazy thing is like as a younger girl, I never thought about any of it because I was just Miss Continental. That was it, and like that was going to be my thing. And to be honest with you, I really thought that I would never ever enter another pageant again. I just was like, no, it's not for me. I don't like competing. I don't like the competition part of it. I have a lot of anxiety about it, and I just don't like that. And then the World's Most Beautiful Transsexual came along, and part of winning that pageant meant that you were going to get to be in, they were going to pick 8 girls, and those 8 girls were going to be in a Las Vegas show. And I was like, I want to be in a Las Vegas show. That would be a dream. And if I'm going to be in a Las Vegas show, I want to be the one, you know what I mean? So I was like, I want to win this. And I never worked harder. I never tried for anything more than I did that pageant. I went to the gym. I got colonic. That was another time that Bob Mackey came through. And I got a box from him that had those swimsuits in it. And it also had 2 evening gowns in it that were like, I was like, oh my God. But those gowns were off the runway. They were sample size gowns. And I swear to you that I did not eat anything from that day until the pageant was over. I am not lying. I went to the gym twice a day. I was getting colonics. I was taking oxygen baths. I wasn't eating meat. I was eating raw. I was doing everything. I was like, I was going to dance classes. I was doing it all. And so that was why I even got back into doing the pageants. I wanted to win that so that I could go work in Las Vegas, which obviously never ever happened. I think that they had that pageant so that they could make that documentary, and that was it. I don't think there was ever even any intentions on us working in Vegas. I really don't. I don't know, but it ended up to be a big fiasco as far as I'm concerned. And they tried to blame me for them not having the show. And I was like, whatever. And then at that pageant is where the people from Thailand or someone from Thailand was there. And so they asked me at that pageant if I would enter that year. They were like, do you want to enter this pageant? Like we have, there's a pageant there I know about. You should go enter. And I was like, Thailand? I'm like, there is no way I am going to Thailand. And so I said, no. I said, this is what I like. This was it. I just did this. I don't have any desire on being in another pageant. And then a year went by, and that same boy was like, they still have that pageant in Thailand. If you know, and he knew the people that were having it. I don't think he's an actual part of it, but he knew the people, and he was like, I just was like, well, I don't know how I would ever get to Thailand, and I'm not going to Thailand without my best friend. So
Right.
if you can get us both to Thailand, I'm like, then I'll go. And he called me the next day, and he was like, okay, it's done. I got you
Okay.
tickets. And I'm like, to my best friend, I'm like, we're gonna go
Oh, you
to
talked yourself into
Thailand.
that.
We're going to Thailand.
We're going to Thailand. And so we went. And so that was my pageant thoughts and stuff. But I have thought of entering other pageants. I really like, then in the meantime, but then I always just think, oh God, getting ready. But I've always wanted to be Miss Universal Show Queen. I've always thought that would be a cool title to have. I've always wanted to be Miss Black Universe.
Yes.
Oh, down.
And then USA and EOY, like I've thought about, but it's just like pageants are really not my favorite thing to do, you know. So
you were the first Miss International Queen from USA. How does that feel?
Amazing. It was one of the highlights of my life. It really was. And now there's a Miss International Queen USA, and I'm hoping that will, become a really beautiful and successful pageant as well. I had never seen anything like Thailand before. I'd never seen a show to the magnitude of what that show was. I was flabbergasted that every single person in that show that was dressed like a girl was actually a queen, a trans, like not trans, because they're not all trans, but this is the Tiffany show. This is the actual show. I was like, this is unbelievable. There's nothing like this in the United States. I'm like, if this is what going to a drag show is in Thailand, I'm like, I want in. And so, but that pageant, that first year, of course, I didn't know anyone that had went. I didn't know anything about it. I had never been a part of anything like that. I was of the upper age, you know what I mean? Like I was the oldest girl there, and I'm still the oldest girl that's ever, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Because I don't know that there was necessarily an age thing at that time.
Right.
And so if there was, I was it. That was it. Like you couldn't be. And so I'm in this contest with bitches that are 8, 19, 20, 21 years old, and they've been on hormones since they were 15, and some of them have sex changes already. And like, I didn't know what to do. And
you went over there and mopped them. And
it was like all week long, you're going to all these events and you're doing all these things with these girls, and no one has makeup on, and they're like these little girls. And I would go back to my room and tell my friend Kim, I'm like, I don't give a fuck what happens, but we're leaving the minute if this is done. I'm like, I'm done with this. I can't do this. I go, what am I doing here with these kids? Like, I just was like, and the whole time I'm like, Korea, every time Miss Korea would walk in, I'd be like, there's Miss International Queen. Hey, Miss International Queen. and my friend Kim is like, stop saying that, Mimi. And I'm like, well, look at her, bitch. I'm like, she's a fucking cotton ball. She was this big. And so, and then it became showtime. Then it became the day of the pageant. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, bitch, I got these motherfuckers. They don't know nothing about this. They were telling me, they were like, when I was sitting in my station with my best friend Kim, there were literally people all the way around us standing there watching, like just watching us. And Kim and I, we don't even talk.
Mhm.
She's doing one thing, I'm doing another thing. She's unpinning my hair, or I'm putting hot rollers in my hair. She's taking me out of my dress. And first of all, that I'm putting hot rollers in my hair, they're like, I forgot my hot rollers. And I'm like, I can't do the pageant without hot rollers. And they're like, what are hot rollers?
Mm.
I said, they're the rollers that a thing. And I explained to them, I have to have these. They find one set of hot rollers at this beauty supply place,
Good.
but they don't want to sell them to me because they don't have the hooks. I said, you tell them motherfuckers I don't need the hooks. I'm good. Like, I got bobby pins.
Right.
So I'm putting the hot rollers in my hair. Kim's doing one thing. All of a sudden, I'm taking the hot rollers out, and every roller I'm taking out, all those people around. Oh. Oh, and then all of a sudden I'm doing something and Kim just starts teasing my hair and I just start handing her pins like this, right? We're not even talking. She's whipping my hair. The next thing I have a hairdo. And the whole time though, they're coming by and saying, you can't do this. You can't work. You're on in 3 minutes. They're on. And there's no like stall. There's commercials. It's live on TV. So they're like, no. Why are you taking her hair down? Don't do that. Don't do that. And I'm like, we're just keep on going. The next thing you know, I'm in a full hairdo. I'm in my evening gown, everything. Well, I'm getting the dirt. I'm like, Miss Korea has on the same gown she had on yesterday. And she wore that same gown into the pageant tonight. So I was like, I got this. We are good. It was fine. And as soon as the pageant was over, I looked at Kim and I'm like, well, we're not leaving right away.
Because I have to stay.
They want us to stay for 3 more weeks.
Oh.
And she was like, bitch. But we were, at that point, we were like, I won and we were living and it was the best experience ever. And I was like, I would have stayed for 3 months if they asked me to, but leading up into it, I was like, why did I do this? This is ridiculous. I'm here with these 20-year-olds and they're like, but that's the thing about the girls from the United States, though. Like, we might not have the same aesthetic as those girls. We might not look like, the exact cotton ball, skinny supermodel, all of that. But a lot of the girls from here, they have experience and they have professionalism and they know the ins and outs and they know what to do and they know how to be. So, yeah.
Did you crown Erica?
I crowned Erica. And of course, I was like, you cannot enter as USA. They're never going to crown 2 USAs in a row. Please go as Mexico. And she was like, absolutely. Because she had both passports and stuff. And I was like, yeah. So she was it. And then from then on, then I started on Giselle. I remember a couple of times being a little in Orlando and sitting her down at the bar and being like, this is what you have to do. You have to go. And many of the girls, you know what I mean? All of them, well, all the girls, to be honest with you, like I've talked to them about going, you know what I mean? Like this is a real beauty pageant.
Right. For the beauties.
This is a real, like, this is Miss Universe and they're all queens, so yeah.
You say you're 50, you say you're 57.
I'm 57.
Still booked and busy all over traveling.
Yeah.
When does it end for Mimi? Or will it ever?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think about that all the time now. You know what I mean? I probably think about that more than I should. That's one of my insecurities. That's one of my things, because I don't feel like I need to stop.
No.
I don't feel, you know what I mean? Yes, obviously I have back pains and there are some times when I'm like, ugh. But I don't think like, I'm sticking out like a sore thumb in the shows that I'm in as far as being like, look at that old lady. So I don't necessarily want to stop. And here's the thing. This is what I do. This
Mm-hmm.
This is my thing. Like,
Right.
I I don't have any plan to stop,
Mm-hmm.
but I also know there's something that I'm not, going to be able to do forever. But yeah, I don't know. I guess when people start being like, oh, you're doing that? Like, what I mean? I don't know. I don't really have any necessary plan to
Mm-hmm.
stop, but yeah.
You are considered a lot of girls' favorite. So give us about 2 or 3 girls who you like currently. Who are some of the younger girls that you like to see entertaining and out right now?
Well, I don't go out,
Mm-hmm.
and unless I'm working, I don't really I don't go out. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? But I'm loving watching Sasha Colby right now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
super proud of her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she moved to Chicago on my 40th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Not maybe it wasn't exactly my 40th birthday, but we were celebrating my birthday at the Baton that night.
Mm-hmm.
And she moved to Chicago, and she's having her 40th birthday this year,
Oh,
this
Wow.
summer, and like in a week or two. And
okay.
so I'm loving seeing everything that's happening for her
Mm-hmm.
right now. Like, do I have a favorite younger queen that I just love? I don't necessarily know that I have that,
Okay.
you know,
That's cool.
that I have
Uh,
a favorite.
Speaking of Sasha Colby, if the opportunity ever came and RuPaul asked you to come judge, would you?
Oh, in a heartbeat. I
Okay.
thought you were going to say, would I enter or would I do the show? Because everybody, as soon as Sasha was on, like, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? And I'm like, I thought about it for a hot second, because obviously I would love to get paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously,
Right.
I would love the whole part of it that comes along with the booking fee.
Mm-hmm.
But if they thought Sasha Colby was old and they were calling her the mother and the old, you know what I mean? Like, if they were making in reference to her being on the older side, what are they going to do to me?
Mm.
And that's where my insecurity comes in. Like, am I going to try to go on a show? And by the time I even got on there, I'd be 60,
Mm.
or by the time it would air. So I just, but judging in a heartbeat, I would.
Mhm.
Yes, I would love to.
What would 57-year-old Mimi tell 16-year-old Mimi about the life that she has created for herself?
I would say take time along the way to enjoy it and smell the roses, and like, don't feel like you have to do what everybody else thinks that you should do or what they want you to do. Because there are things that I did only because I thought that that was what I was supposed to be doing, or that's what, I was told, or I would tell her that. And I would also tell her to be prepared, because everything in life is not going to be exactly the way it seems or the way you wish that it could be, and be prepared for that. But
Gotcha.
she'll be fine.
Wow.
Okay. King, you got anything right quick before we do the last 3?
No, I just want to say thank you, because it has been so enlightening. I think that everyone watching, I'm looking at the comments, is going too fast, but go back and read it later, because they are talking to you
Yes.
I
real heavy.
haven't seen
They're
any
Oh,
of
very,
it's
them.
paragraphs.
very
I'm seeing
happy.
paragraphs.
Yes.
Okay.
But I think that it's just so amazing that you are still here. And so I love the fact that you all are still here. If we have 2 individuals, 78 years old and 81 years old, fighting to be the president of the United States, you are a young woman. So as long as you are still doing it, I think you should do it. Like, I don't think anything is wrong. I think you're still teaching lessons, because they're going to grow older and you're going to grow even older. So they're still learning from you. So it's still levels. It's levels to being Mimi.
Yeah.
So I
Yes.
think that is the lesson.
Well, thank
Mimi, would you ever
you.
would you ever write a book?
1,000%. Yes.
I feel a memoir.
I just need the person to write it, because I can't write it. You know what I mean? I'm not a writer, but I have a million stories. And I would love to tell them. But here's the thing. I've thought about this, and I've even had different people along the way, like Precious Brady Davis. I don't know if you know who she is. She's a very big activist, and I think she's even doing some political things here in Chicago at the time, but she's done a lot. She talked to me at an event that I was at last year, and she was like, you have to write a book. And she had just written a book. I had a book of her own, and so she had talked to me about it. And I've had a few people talk to me, but here's the thing with me writing a book. I'm going to have to tell on people. It's just a part of my life. And I don't necessarily know that everybody is going to want that. You know what I mean? But there are some people that, like, I would have to tell, they would have to be in my book, and they would have, you know what I mean? And like, it just, yeah, I would have to tell on some people, and I would have to say some things that probably people would be like, whoa, she said that. Like, but it's the truth.
But it's your story.
It's
your
my
story.
Yes.
She's fine. So I often ask, what do you want your legacy to be? But I want to ask you something different. What do you want your legacy not to be?
Well, that I was a shady cunt. No, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to. I don't. The legacy thing is so weird. I knew you were going to ask me that, and I thought about this, and I'm like, of course, it's like I want to be able to think I'm a nice person, and I want to be like, you know, I don't know. I don't know the answer to what I would want it to not be. Like,
Okay.
I don't know really, but I do really hope that, like, I know that, like, there's been many people over the years that have come to me and been like, you know, you're the first trans girl I ever saw, and you were on TV, or I saw you on a documentary, and that was the first time I'd ever seen anybody like that. And all of those things I love, and I'm grateful, and I'm happy that other people feel like that, and that they have that, and that they think that about me. But all of those things, I never ever went on any of those things or tried to set out to do any of that. I didn't ever think about me being the first person that someone ever saw, or I didn't ever think about the times that I was on Jerry Springer trying to explain to middle America that we're normal, that I'm a normal person. I didn't know that then years later that people would be like, well, first of all, I never knew that people would even see those things, because back then it was like if you didn't see it that day, I thought that was it.
Right.
I didn't know there was going to be YouTube and that shit was going to come out later in life. But I'm happy that I have all of that. And I'm glad that people received that out of all of that. Like, I'm glad that people feel that way. I didn't set out for them to. I didn't know it was going to happen, but I'm glad that it did, and that makes me feel good that it did for many people.
King, you want to do the jewel?
So at the end of our conversations, we always ask for our icon to just leave a nugget with us, something for us specifically, or it can be for everyone, but just something that we can take with us through our journey that can hopefully give us all the opportunity to have a great story just as yours.
Well, I definitely think that going through life and being a nice person and being a humble person are probably two of the most important things for you to know and to do. Like, you can be nice. It's very easy to be nice, and you can be humble and be grateful. I would tell everyone right now that we are moving into a time that is super scary. And here's the thing. A lot of us, me and people of my era and stuff, we've lived through this. We've lived through this, and we were fine. We didn't have shit They didn't give us nothing. They didn't like us. We were still who we are. I went through my whole life almost not having any rights as a trans person or a gay person, but they gave them to us, and now they want to take them away. That's the part that sucks. It's that you gave them to us, and now you want to take them away. But here's the thing: we lived like that before. Us old school people have. We already lived like that, so we know we can do it. It's the young kids that I worry about that have never ever had any of that. That they only know HIV as something that it's like a sexually transmitted disease to some of these kids. You know what I mean? They never had friends drop dead every day, week after week. You know what I mean? So they haven't lived through those kinds of things. They haven't lived through like not being able to ever have health care. They haven't lived through not being able to get an apartment because you look weird. They haven't learned, they haven't lived through what we have. And so we know that we can actually live through it. We can get through it. It won't be easy. It's going to be super fucked up, but we can do it. But I hope we don't have to. And so because of that, get out and do stuff about it. Like we have to vote blue. You know what I mean? I don't care if Biden is on 17 oxygen tanks and they drew him out in his casket. I don't care.
Exactly.
Like, I don't care who it is. If they pick a new one the day before the election, if the election happens on Tuesday and on Monday they said, oh, we're going to switch it up and this is going to be somebody, no, I vote for that motherfucker. I'm like, it's like an important time right now. Like if we want to keep the things that we have, then you have to vote a certain kind of way. You can't be worried about this this man talking stumbly or having a bad whatever, all those things. You can't worry about that right now. It's more than that. It's more than a debate. It's more than, the way he talks. It's more than him being old. It's more than all of those things. We have and I feel like the older people that have had things different realize that, and I feel like some of the young kids don't necessarily realize that. And it's it's funny to say I don't want to vote for them because of the war in another country, or you know what I mean. It's like it's more than this, you guys. It's more than right now.
Right.
So I think that that's important. Those things are important. So.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm so sorry. We told you 60 minutes and we have went almost.
I told you I would talk for 3 hours. I do have the gift of gab. If you haven't figured that out yet.
We appreciate your full transparency, your honesty, I didn't realize you were so humorous. Everything about this interview was by far amazing, Mimi, and we thank you for that.
Thank you for asking me to do it. Thank you.
Thank you for being open, and we will leave this up. People,
Trinity, you have the most beautiful smile. I am just like you. When I met you in New Orleans, I was just like, who is she?
Oh,
and I think I even asked somebody, I'm like, is she a woman?
Yeah.
Or is she a queen? And they were like, girl. I was like, girl, I can't see what's going on here.
Thank you for that. But we will we're gonna leave this up. It'll stay up. Everybody that came in late, you can go back and watch it. It'll stay up forever, archive. Mimi, we will see you in September. Give us our hugs and stuff.
Absolutely.
And just again, thank you for accepting and thank you for coming on and just opening us up to your life for the last 2 hours. And we appreciate you. And Marky, is Marky woke? Look at him.
He's not awake, but I just woke him up. He's asleep right here. Look at him.
And we thank everyone for tuning in.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm really honored. So I appreciate it.
And we'll see you soon.
See you in a few.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.